And I think we're recording.
All righty,
All right,
wonderful.
so we're here with Maria, and she's with Aspire. And I don't know, let's just start out with you, maybe sharing some of your background and how you got into the role that you are now, and maybe a little bit of the education and where you grew up stuff, just some of the
Okay.
stuff.
So wonderful. So I'm from this area. I grew up in DeWitt. Currently, my husband and I live in Olivet. We raised our three children there. Both my husband and I were special education teachers. I was a graduate of Eastern Michigan University. My husband came from Texas to go to Michigan State, so we are Go Green fans. And we both are now retired special education teachers. I was a classroom teacher for 11 years, working in a center-based program in Eaton County called Meadowview. I worked with a wide range of students. So I had the little ones all the way to the adults, had several different classrooms. And then I took on the role of the transition coordinator for the county. So for 17 years, I was the transition coordinator. Loved that job, loved connecting young people with resources for their futures. My last 2 years in education of my 30 years before I retired there, I ran a grant project through Michigan Department of Ed, Office of Special Ed. That's no longer out there, but it used to be called MyTop. So it was called Michigan Transition Outcomes Project. So I was kind of like the transition coordinator for the state. And before I went to that state position, while I was still a transition coordinator in Eaton County, I was doing a little bit of work for Aspire. I was facilitating some groups. I was writing some curriculum for them about their social coaching and was active with them on their board. And so when I looked at retiring, I knew that I loved this organization. I knew that what they did was great work. So I went to the director at the time, who was one of the co-founders, Bob Steinkamp, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking at retiring. You got anything I can do?" And he said, "How about take over?" So,
Yeah, right.
so at that point, I said, "Yeah, I think I could do that." And it was a very small organization. I think they had $1,000 in the checking account. Everybody was working from home. And it was, we were just having these small groups that met from time to time. So that's where it started. So I took over in 2015. We have grown greatly since then, but I think I need to go back to just how did Aspire start?
Yeah.
So, Bob Steinkamp and a parent who had a couple of sons with autism um, Bob was seeing that he was a classroom teacher and he was seeing that his students were exiting the school system at whatever age, up to 26.
Sure.
And he would connect with them later and they were doing nothing. They weren't seeing any friends. They weren't going out and socializing. And so what he did back in 2008 is he started with one group of individuals with autism, and they met at Lansing Community College. And that's where it all started. They developed this model that we call social coaching, where the participants, we call them participants, are really kind of steering the ship. They tell us what they want to talk about, what they want to learn. And then we have a facilitator. We're not teachers, we're not counselors, we're facilitators that help facilitate those conversations, may bring in some information that they want. We help them develop some skills. And then it's a combination of these small groups where we become friends and supports to each other, and also social activities out in the community. So we work with a wide range of individuals. Aspire initially started off as autism spectrum partners, providing instruction, recreation, and enrichment. When I took over as director, we changed that because I came from the transition world. So I worked with all disabilities, and that really allowed us to grow by um, providing services to those with mental health issues, with cognitive impairments, along with autism and physical impairments. We've had individuals that are deaf. So, it just opened up the doors to providing services to more people. So then we changed it to adapted social programs, providing instruction, recreation, and enrichment. And then just recently, we changed the E from enrichment to employment.
Okay.
What we look at, as I like to describe Aspire, in kind of a three-legged stool. So our foundation and what Aspire was built on is our social coaching groups. So we run 3 social coaching groups a year. They're 12 weeks long. We take a month off in between each one to get new people involved. We just do some fun social activities on those off months. Where we started off with 5 this summer, and summers are always, the numbers are a little lower for us because people are vacationing and doing other
Yeah.
things. We currently have, I think, like 75 people in our groups this summer. So that's pretty high for us. We're averaging usually anywhere between, 85, 90 to 100, 105 people for our
Where do
session.
you where do your groups meet at? Are they still doing it at Lansing? You said Lansing
Well,
Community
Lansing
College to
Community
start?
College, that's where it started, but nope, we do them all over the place. So we have
Okay.
some that are right here in our office. We now have offices. We're working from our homes anymore. We
Yeah.
now have a space and some spaces we can meet here. We're also looking at how can we partner with our community. So we have a gardening group. We partner with the Southside Lansing Community Development Association. So we're at their gardens on Thursday. We have a walking group. We walk and we talk. How do we socially interact when we're just hanging out and walking?
Sure.
We do that at Sharp Park or the Lansing Mall, depending on the weather. We partner with People's Church. They let us use space there. And we
Does
have
Bob help does Bob help with that? So it's funny that you you brought Bob's name up again. I actually had a call yesterday with the People's Church and Bob's name got brought up. And
brought
then
it
you
there.
said it again today and I was like, "Bob, that got Bob Steinkamp got brought up to me yesterday as
He's
well."
everywhere. He's a man of many skills. And so,
Yep.
yes, he's the one that got us there. And,
Okay. Okay.
and
That's yep.
that's really great, especially for if we have MSU students that are part of our programs, easy for them to access. But it all depends on what our groups are. Sometimes we have virtual groups. COVID was tough for our
Yeah, I was
population.
gonna ask you about that because everything that you're saying seems to be community, relational, together groups. And then we all know what that was like 4 years
Right.
ago. So, how did that look? Was it all I mean, it had to have
So
been all virtual,
it,
right?
it was devastating.
Yeah,
Literally when COVID hit, our every drop of funding we had went away.
yeah,
Everything. We had nothing. We were going to be totally in the red by August. Now we have some very kind people that helped us for a few months so that we could keep the doors open. And we as staff, every single day, we hopped on Zoom and anybody that was a part of Aspire could check in with us. So every single day we made sure that there was an Aspire staff or a facilitator available to connect with our people because it was tough and the isolation was tough for many of our people, but we made sure that we connected. And so we came out through that and actually stronger. And that has, as what we're doing now, COVID has brought us Zoom and a
yeah.
comfort level on how to do that. And so we're able to reach a little farther by having some of our groups virtually. This summer, we don't have any virtually, but we usually have at least one group per session in our fall and in our spring virtually. So we have some
What's
people in Jackson or Grand
yeah,
Rapids.
I was gonna ask what's that area look like then
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
As far as on like face-to-face communities, how far does that spread out? And then how far do you go out virtually?
So virtually, the sky's the limit.
Sure, right? I mean, you could work with somebody in California if you wanted,
Anywhere,
but yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So virtually the sky's the limit. So, but as far as, face to face, we've had people that drive in once a week from oh, Birch Run area.
Okay. Yeah, so
People
that's
coming
a
from,
haul. Yeah.
yeah, it's a haul, but
Yep.
because there's not programs like ours and the services and supports that we provide elsewhere. So we have a few come from the Jackson area, primarily Eaton, Ingham, Clinton.
Okay. Yeah.
Our offices are on the border of Eaton and Ingham County, so we're on Waverly Road.
Okay.
So E-Tran from Eaton County can get people to our office, and Spectran. Also, Clinton Transit will bring people to our office.
Okay.
So it's a perfect spot for public transportation for those that need to utilize that. There's also a CATA bus stop just a block from our office. So that works out great. So that's our foundation, and
Yep.
that's what Aspire was built upon. And we have people that have been with Aspire since that very first group. So we tend to be uh, you know, a long-standing relationship with our participants.
Okay.
So that's one. Number two is our employment services. This is fairly new, 5, 6 years now that we have started. We started with one employment specialist.
Yep.
Again, the generosity of a very kind soul that said, I think you guys need to get into employment. And we said, well, how do we do that? And he gave us some startup money to do that. We now have 3 full-time employment specialists. They're carrying caseload between the 3 of them, about 130 individuals that they're working
Okay.
with on all aspects of employment. So how do we get employment? How do we maintain employment? What skills do I need? Some, job readiness stuff, some career exploration, some post-secondary exploration. So anything that they might need that's employment related. All of the individuals that come to that program are referred to us through our state's VR program. So that's vocational rehab programs.
Okay.
So that's Michigan Rehabilitation Services and the
Yep.
Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. So
Okay.
we have 2 VR agencies in our state, and both of those agencies we work closely with. So
Do, do they
they're
have do they have the relationships with um businesses? Do you have relationships with businesses? I know like big companies like Meyer. I mean,
Mhm.
they
Going
have a
to a job
lot,
interview today after
right?
this with
Yeah,
somebody.
they've been brought up to me by
Yeah,
Peckham.
yeah,
Peckham,
yeah,
they work with Meyer.
right,
So
exactly.
is it you in your organization that has those relationships with the companies that are hiring, or is it more MRS or it's barriers for blind? Is that what the
Bureau
uh,
of Services, Bureau of
Bureau of
Service
Service? I can't
for
even
Blind.
read my own writing. Bureau of
Bureau.
Services for Blind.
So really it's a combination of all of
Okay.
that. So we build relationships with certain employers, especially when they're things like for work experiences or on the job evaluations. So those are short term. We're just trying to get some, what skills do we still need to work on before we look for, you know, integrated competitive employment position. So some kind of prep work. We have relationships with employers. But the thing is we're really looking at what does that individual want to do?
Yeah.
So we may have a relationship with like a Meyer, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
but we're not going to place everybody there because that not
Nobody
everybody
wants. Not
work.
everyone wants to work in the
Right.
warehouse, right? I mean,
Right. So
yeah.
we're constantly looking for employers. All 3 of my employment specialists are on different chambers of commerce. So we're paying for memberships at different chambers so that we can make connections with those employers. Um, so that's the key part, and that's sometimes the hard part because really many employers they just need some education.
Yep.
But we hear difficult things sometimes like, oh, we already have one of those.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of myths out there that we're out there in the community trying to break some of those myths.
Sure, and I think you're right when you say that too. I don't think people are saying it intentionally that way. They just don't, like you said, like they just need to be educated.
Sure.
That's
Yep.
something that my wife Megan always says is this is educational for
Right.
people. You know,
Absolutely.
they don't know what they don't know, and if nobody ever helps them, then they're
Right.
just never going to learn. You know,
Yep.
so it's
They
gotta
stay in their own little bubble.
and it's
You know,
gotta come from a place of wanting to help rather, I think, than attacking people because
right.
I don't think majority
Oh,
of people are coming at it the wrong way. They just don't know.
you just don't know. It's
Yeah.
really, when we look at individuals with adults with disability, it's a pretty large population,
It
but
is.
extremely marginalized. You know, it's just very difficult to get the word out there. When they're little, we can get all kinds of support and grants. All of a
Sure.
sudden, we become adults and what's out there for them.
Yep.
So we're kind of trying to fill that gap. So that's our employment services. They're just outstanding and do great work, and we're really busy with that part. And then our third part of our stool is really kind of what I'm doing here with you right now. It's how do we connect with the community? How do I travel around the state? We do professional training. We partner with Encompass Michigan, which is a statewide organization for association for organizations like ours.
Okay.
And myself and one of our participants, we do all the job coach training that around the state for Encompass. And so those are other opportunities. We're always looking at how can we make connections? How can we strengthen our own community so that when an individual has a need, we can connect them. After this, before the interview that I'm going on this afternoon, I'm meeting with MSU to see how we might be able to partner with some of their programs to also support Aspire and the
To
things
like
we do.
MSU Disability Services.
No, not through disability
Okay.
services, through the community, I don't even know, community education, something.
Yeah, right.
Also there, I met with a young man last week who has a club there, a neurodivergent club, and they're
Oh,
looking for
cool.
volunteer sites. And I said, oh, absolutely. Because for all of our social coaching groups, we like to have a volunteer, a peer there. Many of our facilitators are my age and we're old, and they, it's nice to have a peer say, oh, that's not cool that you just did that, or this might be a better way to handle that. And so we love partnering with MSU in a variety of different programs there for volunteers.
Cool.
um,
Cool.
and I did mention job coaches. That's another thing that we do here at Aspire. We have a variety of people that are independent contractors for us as job coaches, because it's kind of a feast or famine type job. I might need 4 one week, and then I might not need someone for months.
Yeah.
And so we have a list of people that we can call and we pay to be job coaches. And so what that is that's that person that goes out just to work with supporting the person on the job. So Michigan Rehab Services authorizes us X number of hours that we can have a job coach go into that job and support them. And so
Okay.
we have our own pool of job coaches.
How how do people get connected with your organization? Do they go to your
Go to our
website? Do
website.
they have to be
Yep. So
referred in? Okay.
Yep. So if they go to our website, that they'll see that there's a banner there with some pictures on it. And then there are 3 links right underneath there. The first link is an application for social coaching. And so they fill that out. What that does is that comes to me, that lets me know, and there's a very small fee for that. It lets me know someone's interested. Then what we do is I will call, schedule an appointment with them. And what we will do is spend some time, talk about the programs, answer any questions, get them ready. The next link then is how do I register for sessions? So that changes 3 times a year for our
Okay.
social coaching groups. There's also a link on there for Voc Rehab if referrals. If they want our employment services, what they need to do is they need to go through one of those 2 VR agencies. And they will then, there's an application for that process that you have to go through for that. They'll get assigned a case manager. And then the case manager, we're not the only show in town. You mentioned Peckham. Peckham's another person that can do that.
Yep.
There are other employment services that have job developers working. So that your MRS counselor might offer, here are several. This one has, like if you want to work at Meyer, I would recommend go to Peckham because they got that connection. They're going to open that door and get you right in. And so our MRS and BSBP, they know each of our strengths and will then suggest, but they also have can say, I would like to go with whatever agency they'd like to.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, is there anything that we're missing that you wanna share about Aspire?
Well, I
I
think
mean,
we're the
it's
best organization around. So not that I'm
I love it.
anything,
That's great.
but I think we're wonderful. So let me just tell you what we're thinking about for some things in the future.
Okay.
One of my greatest worries, I'm on the second end of my second career here.
Yeah,
And
after retirement to your next
after retirement,
time.
I've retired.
Mm,
I'm now looking at, getting closer to 65, 70, and I don't see myself doing this in my 80s and 90s. But what I do is really important to me is sustainability. So how can we make sure that we're here long after I'm gone? And so, and I'll tell you a story. We had one of our participants here at the office. This was a few months ago, and she was because our office is a place that if you just want to hang, there's space for people to hang.
sure.
And so she was here, and my door was open, and she came in and she said, I don't know what I'm going to do when you're not here. And I go, what do you mean by that? And she goes, your Aspire's all I have. You're my family. Both her parents have passed away in the past couple of years. Only family member lives at the other side of the country. And we're the stable force. Not that we're the only force. She's connected in many ways around the community, but we're that consistency for her. And she's not the only one that we have conversations like that with. And then I just looked at her and said, that's why I'm working so hard, because I want that for you too. I
Yeah.
want Spire to be able to be here long term. So we're in the process right now of, we're always looking for funds. We're a nonprofit. We run on a shoestring budget. And we are currently applying for a grant because this is my goal. Is right now as the director, and I don't have any grandbabies. My kids are all grown, my husband and I, and he's here at the offices almost as much as I am sometimes. We do a lot for our participants, taking them to doctor's appointments, helping them clean their apartments, dealing with mental health crisis, visiting in hospitals. I mean, we do a lot of that. I don't see that. I think that would be really difficult for a new director to take over and do. So we're applying for this grant right now that what we want is we want to hire a full-time case manager. And what that case manager will do is have a caseload of, we're thinking between 20 and 25, and we're looking at how can we access special needs trusts? How can we access the ABLE Act? How can we look at insurance? Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance, to be able to fund that position for long-term sustainability. So there'd be 20 to 25 that would be paying a monthly fee for case management services. And then we're going to always have some that don't have those funds.
Yeah.
That individual would also do all of that. And so then it makes, when I leave, that director position a little more manageable. Because right now, this position is, 70, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And so it's just nonstop. It's in the middle of the night. My husband says, who are you talking to now? When is someone in crisis and they need a kind voice to hear from? 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to provide that personal support. It's not just, and there are great resources out there, but some need someone they know to talk to.
Yep.
So we're hoping we did get moved into the second stage of this grant, which would give us the startup funds to be able to do that. And so that's our hope. You know, we're looking at how can we be around for another 50 years
Yeah.
because
How can people get involved or help? I mean, do you have
yep.
volunteer opportunities? Can people donate? Like, what does that look
Oh,
like?
absolutely. We're always looking for donations. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for, and lots of different donations. Like, matter of fact, my own friends know that, hey, if I get a gift and I really don't want it, I'm going to give it to Aspire because we have a big bingo night on New Year's Eve. And we just have a rack of all these gifts, the brand new things that people can take as their prizes. So we're always looking for donations. Always looking for financial donations. But if you go to
Yep.
our website, there's a tab that says get involved. And there's a donation site that they can just donate right from our website, but also some other ways that they can fill out an application if they'd like to be a volunteer. And then we'll get in touch with them after they do that. But always, you know, in the nonprofit world, we'll take anything.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah.
Um, anything else? What's your website? Your website, and do you guys have I'm assuming you guys have
Yep,
social
we have a
media.
website.
I see
So
it,
it's
so I know you have it.
yep, it's aspire.org. So remember, we're two P's, so ASPPIRE.org. And you can go there, check us out. We got some pictures. You can see kind of what we're doing. We're looking at, we need to do some updates on our, you know, that's one of those things that always waits to the end. We need to update
Another
our
cost, right? Yeah, I know.
yep, it's never ending. But what it does is if you go to the homepage, you can just kind of scroll and we put like flyers and, you know, things up there that you can just kind of look and see what we've been doing over the past months and years. There also, you can sign up for our newsletter. We have a newsletter. And so if you go to our website, just type in newsletter at the search, it'll pop up. You can see our old newsletters and then you can sign up to get on the newsletter list. We are not someone that's going to inundate you with junk mail.
Yeah.
Usually you get
Yeah.
one a month.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, yeah.
Well,
And
awesome.
feel free to contact. All of our contact information is there or stop on by. We're here.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we are on
I
the
think I
corner.
know where you guys are at now. Now that you
Yeah,
said
wait.
you're
Yeah.
on Waverly Road, I was like,
They
oh
really
yeah.
say
Yeah.
we're kitty corner from Home Depot, right across the street from Tim Hortons. And we are in it's the old Stoner Elementary School, but
Yep.
it's the Fairview Professional Building now. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
great building. It works out great for us because of transportation. And so, yeah, I think we're a great organization. It's in my 40 years of working with people with disabilities, this is the best job I've ever had. So,
Awesome.
because I feel like we're really having an impact on people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah.
And then nothing makes me happier is when I'm scrolling through social media and I see participants of ours that may not have done much in the community. And all of a sudden I see that they're with another participant at a ball game or out to the bar, or going to a concert or doing, you know, playing a game at home, that they've made connections and they are developing their own communities now,
Yep.
which is what we all want for our lives.
Yep. Yep. 100%. Well,
So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you jumping on here with us and
no problem. And I'm sorry I missed
sharing
last
your
Monday.
whatever. I had other stuff to do anyways. I was just like, whatever. I got plenty of things to do. So
All right.
I
Well, thank
actually was
you
working.
for, you know, for taking the time and thinking of us. We appreciate it. This is again how we can reach more people.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well,
All right.
thanks for jumping on, and we'll connect again soon.
Okay. And follow us on social media. We have great social media, Facebook and Instagram.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks,
All
Evan.
right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.